Hi, everybody. It's Tuesday, February the 13th, 2024, and it's 8 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time. SportsView is the program coming to you here with. Good evening, Derwynne, Honan.
Hey, Pat. Hey, Joe.
Good evening, Joe, and welcome. Welcome, lads.
Derwynne, hi, Pat.
Now, we'll be looking at catching up on the news in the Premiership over the last few days. We'll be looking at golf and interesting tussling between the golf and all of that. Usual thing. Rugby union, the Six Nations, and of course the Super Bowl that was on Sunday night. Kansas City won it for the fourth time. Was it the fourth time? I think.
I think it was. Yeah.
In their history, I was trying to look it up there today. The teams with the most, we're going to start off with the Super Bowl. As we're on air tonight, there's the last 16 of the European Cup is taking place as well. And of course, we look at the African Cup of Nations. Was won by the Ivory Coast. The host, they beat Nigeria 2-1. New England Patriots and Pittsburgh Steelers have won the Super Bowl 6 times, and Tom Brady has the most Super Bowl rings, 7. So there you go now, Tom Brady. I was reading about. That was enough for him. That was enough for him. Yeah. And I think the quarterback for Kansas City is an interesting man. He's a mixed race. His father is black, and his mother is white. So he's a mixed race. He's a very committed evangelical Christian, and of course he's a Texan originally. He's from Texas. But Joe, did you see the Super Bowl at all, lads?
Oh yeah, I watched all of it.
There was some muted response. They said it was a very bitty game. It was a very broken up game. You know, there was no flow to the game. I could only stay up as far as the first 3-point goal. The field goal was kicked, and that was it. I had enough then. Nothing. I thought was great. I just had to go to bed. You know, it finished at our time at 5 to 4 in the morning. Anyway, what do you think of it, Joe?
I thought it was a good game. I mean, sometimes you get to these games, you got possibly the 2 best teams in the country playing. That's the 2 best offenses, 2 best defenses. And we know that defenses can derail offenses in big games. It doesn't take much to do it. And from a defensive standpoint, it was a great game. Defensive players making great interceptions, tackles, knocking down passes, making great blocks, getting at the quarterback, all the things that you're looking for in a good game. I mean, I've been through it where we've watched Seattle, and it's great when you're a Seattle fan and you're watching them blow out the Denver Broncos in the Super Bowl. But by the time, everybody's lost interest in that. You know, this game that kept you going and kept you going till the very end of it. So went into overtime, and I thought it was a great watch to keep you at the TV.
And Derwynne, did you see any of it?
I did watch it, which amazed me really, because I'm not really into it.
Go here.
Well, I don't really understand it, so to me, there's not enough. I don't know. It's just a British thing, isn't it? I mean, we've grown up with end-to-end football, and then again, we've got Test cricket, which we like. So I don't. But maybe I've just caught myself there. But I think if you grow up with it and you understand it, then it's great. If you haven't grown up with it, you don't really understand it. I wouldn't necessarily stay up again.
But it held your attention.
I wanted to watch it because I don't know why. I think if I was going to support a team, I'd support the San Francisco 49ers. And I don't know why I say that. But I've been to New York Giants and stuff like that.
Yeah.
To see it live. But I mean, I ended up going outside, getting drinks and stuff, because it's just not enough
action.
It doesn't flow.
Yeah.
You know, that's
Um,
funny you talk about that. I went on Monday morning. I went to physical therapy to get work done on my shoulder and what have you. And
yeah,
I was the therapist there, and we were talking about games. And his son played soccer. He himself was a baseball guy, football guy, um, and we were talking about sports. And the exact opposite to what you're talking about, he said, man, I love football. He said, I love soccer. He said, I love rugby. I can watch all those, but that cricket, I can't wrap my head around that.
Every time any live sports I've gone to see when I've been in America, I've always gone to see ice hockey and basketball.
And
And
he's a big ice hockey fan as well. So we talked about,
so
you know.
I think you go to those because it's end to end, isn't it? It's constant. It's
Oh, yeah.
whereas the American football stops that. And as for when they get the other team to come on, I just don't understand any of that.
well, as I said, I watched a bit of the highlights then on YouTube channel, but as you said, Derwynne, it wouldn't hold my attention at all. I suppose it's what you grow up with as well. Like, I mean, when I went to work in England for the first time, it was a huge culture shock to me because all the lads I used to pal around with, I worked with, the big thing for them was the Sunday morning cricket match with their local club, you know. And I went along because I worked with the wall, you know. I didn't know what I was going to be quite honest, you know. But I must say, I'm a cricket fan since then because I learned the rules of the game. I learned what it's all about. You know, the team that's in, you're trying to get out, and the team that's out, what trying to get in. Isn't that right, Derwynne?
That's it. Yeah, you got that spot on. I once in India. How about this one for a story, boys? I'm playing in India in the Indian Open, and I'm sharing with a Mexican golf pro called Carlos Espinosa, who has played in the World Cup for Mexico, and he's like one of Mexico's greatest ever golfers. And we got rained off one day in the Indian Open in Delhi. And we all went back to the hotel and we're all bored out of our heads. And it was like a monsoon outside. It wasn't, you couldn't go wandering. It was stuck in the room.
Yeah.
And I put the TV on and there is India. I think we're playing South Africa, laying on the glued to it. He's looking across at me and he's just going, try and explain this to me. I don't get this at all. What's a wicket and what's a stump and what's a run out? And it was brilliant. But by the end of the whole day, it sounds like we were in bed together. We weren't. We were in separate beds. But by the time the match had finished, Carlos Espinosa is literally going, I get this. I actually get this. And he couldn't understand how you had spin bowlers and fast bowlers and medium. And
that's right.
Like, he was Mexican, so he's firing these questions at me. What makes him? Why is he a medium pace bowler then? Well, he's not as quick as the fast bowlers. There you go. And he's like, oh, do you have a slow bowler? And you go, no, they're spin bowlers. They are. And he's, oh, so you don't have a slow one? You go, no, he's just a spin bowler.
And I learned. Once you learn the rules, I suppose, Joe and Derwynne, like any sport, once you learn the rules and suss it out and watch it. But to me, I became a big fan of cricket since the 70s then. And I watch it nearly all the time on television. You know, I think it's a fantastic game. I know some people don't, but I really think I just love the game.
I think now when you've got the 2020 in the evenings and stuff, that it's such a great night out to go and watch because it's relatively inexpensive.
All action. All action.
And they're just slogging from the first ball onwards. They're trying to hit sixes all the time. And it's like, the difference between that and Test cricket is stark. It really it could be polar opposites if they tried. But the 2020 has definitely revived cricket in the UK.
Oh, it has.
Maybe even in the world.
It has. There's no doubt about that. The 2020 format is brilliant. Brilliant visually and brilliant to watch. Test cricket reminds me of if you're going camping, bring your tent, when you test cricket, because you could be there a long time,
Yeah.
I just think that Test cricket and 2020 cricket is a little bit like live golf and a 72-hole PGA Tour event.
Well, yeah, we'll be discussing that in a minute, but Las Vegas was a place to be. I think it was a fitting place for the Super Bowl in Las Vegas, I didn't look at the makeup, but what was I going to say? So, SportsView is a program on theirmedia.tv. Press the red button on the right-hand side to subscribe to our channel. Just looking back briefly, because it's Tuesday now this week, and we're normally on a Monday. In the soccer over the weekend, in the Premiership, English Premiership, Arsenal, Chelsea, Man U, Man City, Liverpool, and Spurs all won. And of course, I'm disappointed. My own team were very disappointing, Luton Town. They were beaten by the basement team 3-1, which was really, to me, one of their most disappointing matches so far this season. I say without hesitation. As these things happen, I don't know what it is. Anyway, there you go. We move on. In the Championship, Ipswich drew away to West Brom. Leeds had a good win. Leicester City won at home 2-1. Won away to Watford. Leicester City, and the Ivory Coast beat Nigeria in the African Cup of Nations. I don't know if anybody watched that. Tonight, Man City are playing away, and Real Madrid are playing in the last 16 of the Champions League. But in the Premiership, you have Liverpool on top with 54 points, Man City 52, Arsenal 52, Spurs 47, and Villa 46, and Man United on 41. They all have 24 matches played, except Man City, who have 23 played, one less. So it's very tight, Joe. It's very exciting, I think.
Yes, it is. It is,
I-
and there's just some interesting things happening.
Yeah.
I mean, Villa seem to be now they've lost 3 home games in a row.
They did. The much maligned Man United are well in there now.
Yeah, so you just wonder what's happening. I mean, they played well enough against United, to be fair, but they just seem to have lost the knack of scoring goals and getting the results that they were getting earlier on in the season. And you just wonder with them if their squad is deep enough for them to make
for the time
good.
being, what was I going to say? For the time being, Joe, I think just to Joe, I can't hear you. You have no sound. Yeah, your sound seems to be gone. But
I've got him coming through.
not beyond there, and Derwynne, I think you're the same as myself. Wonder why he's not now. I'm just checking
No,
my end.
I could hear Joe talking. I was surprised that Luton lost, to be honest.
I was very surprised. Very surprised. A game as important as that, I mean, that's their own separate league that they've got to win if they're going to stay up. They've got to be beating those bottom teams, and to do so well in some of the other games and then to lose that one is a right kick in the teeth.
What I found very distasteful over the weekend, on a personal level, was the appalling attitude of the fans to David Moyes. I know Arsenal beat him, was it 5 or 6-0 or whatever it was, but West Ham are well up there. They're up. They're 7th or 8th in the Premiership. What are the fans expecting to be top of the league?
But,
I mean, he's doing a fantastic job with the team.
It's the best. It's the best they've been for I don't know how long.
Yeah.
I think it's in the league itself. And I mean, what again? We talked about this before. What do West Ham fans want? Do they want to play good football and go down to the Championship? Because if you're going to be West Ham and you're going to try and do that, that's realistically what's going to happen, because you don't have the players with the ability to be able to do what other teams do. And there are different ways of playing. And if you look at any of the teams throughout the the four divisions of the English league. You
Yeah.
look at teams in the lower division that try to play out the back and do this and do that, and their fans are going absolutely bananas because they're giving the ball away and they're giving up goals and they're losing, and people don't. A lot of people don't want that. And David Moyes has a different way of playing than Pep Guardiola has, but you know what? David Moyes' team is just outside or just inside the top 10 in the Premier League, and they won a European Cup last year, a European trophy. So I really don't, and they're still in contention to win one this year. So
They're joint seventh. They have the same amount of points. I'm just looking it up here, lads, as Newcastle, who all the money are going into. You know,
yeah,
they're on top.
There's a big difference though, isn't there? You know, Guardiola's team can play out from the back because the standard of player they've got playing for Man City has the ability to do that.
Yes.
And, you know, West Ham, unfortunately, does not have the money to go and buy Man City's squad, does it?
no.
And
Talking about Man City.
you know, I scream at match of the day, or, you know, if I'm watching the match live or whatever, I scream at it when you've got some of the United players fiddling about with it at the back, and you're just like, you're not good enough to do that. Get rid of it. Get it upfield. I mean, we'll probably talk about it with rugby, but you know, if you what do Man City do really well? They spend more time in the opposition's half, don't they?
They do.
Right.
And they're
not afraid to put the ball over the top.
They're gone one up.
They know when to do it, don't they?
They're gone one up as we're on here. Derwynne has scored after 10 minutes against Copenhagen away in the Champions League. That's Man City. But there's a really interesting tussle then in the Championship.
You know, I sit there and I get what.
Well, I think, anyway, just to contour with David Moyes, I think it's very, very unfair. Even the press themselves are being unfair to David Moyes.
A lot of the press are supporting him, and I've read some of it as well, supporting it. But you know, I watched him on the Arsenal game, and some of the things that happened there, you cannot blame the manager and the coaches for that. The coaches are setting people up to do their jobs. And if players don't do their jobs, then that is like the first goal, the header. There's the right fullback is at the front. There's two Arsenal players that are offside. They're trying to distract the defense, which they all do. And they're hoping that somebody makes that stupid mistake and panics and drops back to put them onside. And that's exactly what happened, and they scored from it. You know, so, and a couple of the other goals, you could look at them and go, hang on a minute, what's this guy doing? Well, and David Moyes, I don't know if you saw the interview with him afterwards, but he says, you know, if guys are not staying in position to play guys offside and are not going to the ball to block or not cutting down passing lanes or pressuring, then he says, I have to look at the film and we have to talk about that. And that's exactly what happened. They could have done something about each and every one of those goals.
You're spot on. And I think David Moyes is a terrific manager myself. That's my own opinion for all his work. I think he's one of the good ones in the I think Pochettino is a bit of a bluffer myself, you know. That's just my reading of it.
You know, I think we talked about him earlier in the season, but you know, the thing with Chelsea, and we talked about it earlier on, is they have a very, very young squad. Very young squad. The only one really that's really experienced in there's Thiago Silva. And it looks like his wife has managed to get him out of there by her comments on social media and what have you about the coach and time and stuff like that. And I think that they're a typical young team. They're inconsistent. They've sometimes, like I watched the Crystal Palace game yesterday, and they didn't play well in the first half of that, but they came out in the second half and they played great. And Palace were a bit unfortunate. They got caught with the equaliser. But then they were trying to get stuff back and they got caught. They were trying to win the game. They got caught on a breakaway with the second goal, and then they were trying to get a draw of it, and they got caught on the breakaway with the third goal. So they were a bit unfortunate. But Chelsea were much better in the second half than they were in the first half. So, but I mean, it's ironic, you know. Chelsea lose to
Sheffield United.
Wolves last week.
Wolves.
And then Wolves go and lose to Brentford 2-0 at the weekend, didn't they?
Yeah.
You know, so it's like you don't know which way it's going to go with some of them. And I think that Chelsea are going to be okay. I mean, they're sneaking up back in the top 10 again, which is not ideally where they want to be. But, you know, when you're looking at the potential for the future, you go, okay, this is not a bad place to be. And the idea here is to sack the coach and get somebody else to come in to do better. I'm not sure that's the solution. I've never been, unless it's absolutely something that is ridiculously out of bounds, I'd be hard pushed to justify somebody losing their job because they've been given a young team that they had no. I mean, I don't think Mauricio Pochettino bought any of those players. I think they were out there, got there, weren't they?
I think he inherited the team. Yeah, I think he inherited the team. But we wish them all well. But in the championship, which I love watching, the championship. After the weekend's matches, and there's a whole series of matches tonight in the championship, first and second division as well. You know, Grimsby Town's match is postponed to Waterloo Lock Pit, so that's not going ahead. Leicester City are on top with 75 points. Then you have Southampton with 64, Leeds with 63, Ipswich Town with 60, then West Brom with 49, Coventry and Sunderland in at 47, all after 31 games and 30 games, but. You know, I think that's good. But tonight, as we speak, then, Leicester City are playing at home, and they're 2-0 up against Sheffield Wednesday, Joe. Leicester City are playing at home tonight, and Leeds United are away to Swansea, but they're 2-0 up as well, and West Brom are winning 1-0 at Cardiff. So there's going to be a right scramble. There's about 12 to 14 teams in contention for 6 places in the championship, and that's going to be a right tumble to the end. There's going to be a lot of disappointment, I think, in that one. You know, in the end,
there is going to be a lot. You know, and ironically, you know, you talk about teams and what have you. Well, you have the other side of the West Ham situation where Leicester City are top of the league by 9 points, and that's with a 2-0 win, 2-0 up against Wednesday. But some of the fans at 11 points clear. Yeah. So, and some of the fans in Leicester are complaining that Leicester are playing too much tippy-tappy football and they're not attacking enough and they're not going for the juggler enough and what have you, and they're 11 points clear. So sometimes you can't make anybody happy. And the coaches, if you're going to come to Leicester City and look for a counter-attacking game, he said you're coming to the wrong place. You know, we do not counter-attack.
Well, I think they'll be coming up again, Leicester City. I think they'll be coming up again, you know. And anyway, Mr. Radcliffe, the billionaire, he's 25% share of Manchester United has been approved. So he said in one interview, he said he'd like to knock down Old Trafford and rebuild a new stadium there. Is that what he said, Derwynne? Did you hear him saying that?
Well, I think one of the options, did you hear that, Derwynne, about the options for Old Trafford? One is to repair it and one is to knock it down and rebuild it. But then I saw an article with David Gill in the paper this morning, where he's saying, he said, just a note to people, when he was there, the Sir Bobby Charlton stand leaked as well.
Well, yeah.
And then it was leaking as well. So it's nothing new to Manchester United Football Club that club or that stand has been leaking. So, obviously there's a lot of stuff going on. If they're talking about repairing that stand, they were talking about they'd have to bring in cranes and all sorts of stuff, and that would impact the railway track behind Old Trafford. That they would have to stop some of the trains while they were doing it and what have you. So just a lot of logistics that would have to go into it, one way or the other, because they have that tournament that they have every year, where the likes of Usain Bolt and all those guys play in a charity tournament for UNICEF, I think it is. So it's that. But then here's another interesting one in the paper this morning. Wolves are now in football fair play trouble. They're coming up. They've just appeared on it, and they're having been questioned and having to answer about charges of FFP.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean,
so
we're blue in the face of talking about this until there's sanctions and action taken against Man City. I think the rest of the clubs, should be one bit afraid of standing up for themselves. I mean, we've spoken about this before, and we'll see what things. Anyway, SportsView is the program, and press the red button on the right hand side to subscribe to our channel. Now, we had the Six Nations on over the weekend in rugby, and Ireland had a leg warmer against Italy, 36-0. England beat Wales in a very tight match, 16-14. And Scotland, to my mind, were absolutely. It was one of the the most shocking decision I've seen in a while in a high caliber game, when it was obvious that he grounded the ball. That's the Scottish player, and they were denied the win against France. It was a very poor match, but Scotland were desperately unlucky not to get that win. Did anyone see any of the rugby?
I saw the Ireland match. I watched the Ireland match.
Yeah.
And Ireland looked pretty good. They didn't have any of the other two on over here where I could watch it. But again, we talked about it. I mean, Wales again came close. I think they were a bit unfortunate there. Scotland, I would have loved to have seen.
Well, it was very. I mean, I think it was a total mess by the officials on the pitch and the officials off the pitch. But the ball, I could see the ball was grounded. If I can see the ball was grounded on television, what were the rest of them looking at? To me, I don't know. I really don't know.
I mean, isn't the guy in the booth able to watch the same film that you were able to watch?
You would think the TMO, you would think, but
and I mean, people in the stadium must have seen it as well. I mean,
the Scottish RFU have lodged an official complaint. I mean, I know where that will go. I don't even know what I don't know what rule is or anything. You
know what? With everything that they've got going, and we make cases for rugby being they do this well, they do that well, but they make mistakes as well. And you know what? Once the game is finished, I don't know why you're lodging these technical complaints or what have you, or whatever complaints they are. The game is over. It's done. It's not coming back. Right?
Yeah.
And
in a serious competition like the Six Nations, I could never see a game being replayed except there was something that we don't know of, that we never heard of, happened. And I think once the decision is made on the field of play, there's no going back. You know, there's no
No,
going back.
I agree. It's like, we're talking, I don't know about you lads, but, now we're talking about blue cards coming into football,
That's
and it's
right.
like, I think it's the most stupid idea in the world.
We said that. We said that as well about VAR, Joe. You know.
Yeah, but I mean, it is stupid though, Pat. I mean, so what's going to happen here? What happens in soccer when a team goes down to 10 men, right? They readjust their formation into a defensive formation.
Yeah.
So the same thing is going to happen in soccer when you get a blue card. You're
You have
going
five
to,
backs, and you have five backs and five across the midfield or four across the midfield, and that's it.
yeah. So you just adjust, and for 10 minutes, there'll be another 10 minutes of the game gone that should have been played.
Yeah. Yeah.
So to me, it makes no sense whatsoever. We've seen it in rugby, right?
Yeah.
We watched Ireland get knocked out of the World Cup when New Zealand had two men with yellow cards or blue cards or whatever they were off the
Yeah.
field, and we couldn't score a point against 14 men. And they scored a penalty against us, which killed us in the finish.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily an advantage to go a man up. It's sometimes it's
No, it's
against.
not.
Sometimes it hinders what you're doing,
It
and
does.
it's just to make the game worse than it already is. So I
And
don't know why
we're
they're trying.
talking about, hopefully Derwynne will be back in time. We're talking last week. We didn't have anything substantial about Barry John, who passed away during our last program. And Barry John was a superstar, the first real superstar of rugby, a free spirit, a fantastic jinker of the ball, and he passed away there last week. And he in 1964, at the age of 19, he joined Clonettley. He was 5'10", just under 12 stone. That was him, not very big, And in 1967, then he went over to join Cardiff, where he formed a partnership with Gareth Edwards. Gareth Edwards was 76 recently, so Gareth Edwards is still hale and hearty, thank God. But they formed a formidable partnership. And we were talking about a man a couple of weeks ago, Joe, JPR Williams, who died,
Yeah,
JPR. They were all in what we call the golden era of Welsh rugby during the late 60s, early 70s. But Barry John himself then went to Alliance Tour New Zealand in 1971, and he was absolutely sensational. There's no other word for it. And after that tour, the All Blacks stood to a man to clap him off the field, because I mean that was a sensational tour with Barry John. I couldn't find it. I couldn't find it in time, but I'd love to have got it. Thing. But we're going to play a little clip now for Barry John, and you'll recognise him. You'll recognise the commentator as well, I'm sure. No, there's no commentary on this, actually, just silent, but they put a ring around Barry John, his movement against England. That's obviously playing against England. Look at this. I mean, this is just sensational. And here he is on another. You'll see, there he is. And he'll loop around now again. But, I mean, to me, I only saw him on television. And he, of course, he retired at the age of 27, He worked in a bank but he retired, which was very early age. But I don't think he could handle the fame and the notoriety of it very well. But because he was a very unassuming fellow. There's the great JPR on one of the teams. But I mean, there you go. They were showing some snippets of Barry John, who is no longer with us, and sadly missed by his family, of course, as well. But I mean, for anybody who saw him playing in the flesh, fair play to you, lads. I never did, but I saw him on television, and he was just. I mean, he was played in an era when the game was a lot tougher, the ball was heavier, the grounds were heavier, and really, just Now, this is against the All Blacks. This last bit here is against the All Blacks in 1971. You see there, he handed off. This Gareth Edwards, this Barry John, boom. You know, what a man. There you go. That was our little homage to Barry John, but what a man. Like, it was just incredible, Joe. I know, did you see him on television playing?
Oh, I saw him on television. My father was a huge rugby fan, so we always watched the
All
Triple
right.
Crown. So with Fred Cogley, doing his
Yes.
commentary and so yeah. So we were always a huge rugby family as well. So my father played out half for Gary Owen in the 50s, won a Munster Senior Cup with him in the early 50s. So the time Richard Harris was playing for Gary Owen.
All right.
Yeah, and his good buddy was Gordon Wood, who was Keith Wood's father.
Oh, I see. Oh, because.
Yeah, we had the photograph in our house in Gary Owen. As you come in the front door, you had the hallway, and it was on the wall there as you walked in the front door. They won the Senior Cup and the Charity Cup the same year, I think, in 1950, 51 or 52, something like that. So yeah, but rugby was big in our house. So
Yeah.
But I saw a photograph there last week, just before we came on air. It was a photograph of Barry John and George Best,
Oh,
the
because.
two stars of their sport. It was in the Daily Mail last week. I think it was like Friday or so, just the day after he passed away. Or the day he passed away, and it was just interesting to see the two of them together in that. Same kind of hair, the whole thing.
Same
It
here.
was, it was, yeah.
Two geniuses. Two geniuses.
Yes, indeed.
In the
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Now,
what a shock when he retired early,
well,
when
there
he
was
retired.
I think that he himself, I never heard him talking about it. He himself, we're just at the playing a few clips. You can look back at it tonight, Derwynne, on Barry John.
No, I was watching it. I've been listening to you two for the last 10 minutes. I've been
were you?
backstage.
That's a pity.
I didn't read any more about where he was born because I can't pronounce the word, the names of the places being weird.
Oh, it's some little village out near Swansea.
Yeah, that's right. And he retired very young at the age of 27. But to me, I think he put rugby on the map in the 60s and 70s, pushed it right out there as a sport, Barry John himself, certainly he made a huge impression when he went down to New Zealand that time, really mesmerizing. But anyway, superstar, and of course, in Cardiff, where he joined up with Gareth Edwards, and they had the JPR Williams and all those came along. That's the golden age of Welsh rugby in the 60s and 70s. They were just had a superb team, superb team.
They were untouchable, really, weren't they?
They were, really, you couldn't lay a hand on Barry John. You couldn't go near him, like us.
No.
And when you consider, as I was saying, the grounds were muckier and slower, the ball was heavier, and yet he did it all.
You could have a scrap.
Huh?
Well, you could have a proper scrap, couldn't you?
Yeah. Now we're going to golf before we. Oh yeah.
Don't get me onto this golf thing.
Now in golf, the last couple of days we had.
You came back just in time.
I tell you what, if I'm gonna be a bit controversial here. I know what's coming.
Before
I'm gonna let rip.
Well, that's all right too. We like people to let rip, but this chap Taylor from Canada he won the Phoenix Open at -21, and Shane Lowry was well off the pace. He finished down the field at -3 in the Phoenix Open. At one stage, and I am a follower and I am a fan of golf, But at one stage, I didn't recognise any of the 10 or 11 golfers at the top of the field. At one stage, I didn't know who they were. I thought they were on the amateur tour. But anyway, that's just me. The Qatar Masters then was won by Hoshino, the Japanese. Is he the 4th or 5th Japanese player to win on the DP World Tour or the All European Tour? Was it Isao Aoki was the first, was it?
Yeah, well, Nakajima, you would have had Nakajima, Osaki.
Osaka. I remember him. He was a character.
Aoki.
Did you meet him? Did you meet Aoki, Derwynne? He struck me as a character.
I have met Aoki.
Yeah.
He's a lovely man, very polite, very Japanese, very polite. Yeah, I mean, there's a few in there. Jumbo Ozaki.
Yeah.
Then you've got Tommy Nakajima.
That's right.
Tommy Nakajima he took 17 at the 17th at St Andrews in the Open one year.
That's right.
9 goes to get out the bunker on the left of the road.
He couldn't get out the bunker, Joe. Yeah. He couldn't. No. He couldn't see out of the bunker. No, he couldn't hit the ball out of the bunker.
And the famous headlines, didn't they? In like in the daily magazine, daily newspapers, was the sounds of Nakajima.
Yeah, yes, I did.
I'm going to get on my soapbox now.
Before you do, DJ Johnson got back to winning ways in Las Vegas on the Live Golf. Live Golf seemed on -12. Your man, I thought McDowell. I like McDowell, and he finished joint 4th. He was on -9. He had a decent tournament, and I just like to see him playing well. I like to see those people playing well myself. But you see, it's more accessible now to watch at Live Golf. I found it very easy to get, and
yeah, definitely.
And there was a sizable crowd there as well.
Yeah, I think you'd always get a good crowd in Las Vegas, wouldn't you? But
yeah,
but did you read the article by Oliver Holt on that?
No.
Oh man, you want to read it? He went there, and he went to take it in, and he was what's their slogan? Golf, live, golf, but louder.
Yeah,
I think it was is their slogan, or it wasn't Las Vegas this weekend.
Louder.
And, he said he went there, and he said, "Sorry, louder, yeah." But he said he went there. He said the only reason he went there is because all the casinos were giving free tickets. Everywhere you went, they were giving you free tickets. He said, so he said that people showed up just to have a look at it. And he said, he went around it, and he said that maybe Justin Johnson, John Rahm, that group, that they were together, and he says a crowd followed them around. He said everybody else, their families that were following them around. Maybe about 4 or 5, maybe half a dozen holes that had people around the greens. All the rest of them had nothing. He said there was one hole where it was, I'm not sure, the 6th or 12th, where they had a blackjack guy from Vegas doing cards. He said, and that was the biggest crowd that they had. So that was the biggest crowd that they had at a hole outside of where the other 3 were. And he said Phil Mickelson went around there. He said, and it was like he was anonymous. There was nobody following him around. So he said, he didn't enjoy the experience. I'd read the article if you pull it up on the Daily Mail thing and read what he said, and he made mention of the Tropicana where he was staying, where back in the day they all used to perform and they'd all stay there and what have you. And we talked a little bit about it last week. That's been leveled in a few months, and they're going to build a brand new baseball stadium there on the Tropicana. Yeah, so
Wow.
And
But
yeah, I didn't read the article, Joe. I heard about the article. I didn't read it yet. I'll probably read it during the week now. But did he mention anything about Greg Norman? Because he's one of the guys that's on that goes on all of the time about Greg Norman. As far as I know, Greg Norman doesn't play in live golf. You know, as far as I know, you know.
no, no. He never mentioned Greg Norman.
No.
He mentioned that the course he went around, he was looking for. He was hoping to see Sonny Liston's house and what's his name? The other great boxer from the 50s before world champion.
Floyd
Oh God,
Patterson.
it won't come. Not Floyd Patterson, no.
Joe Lewis.
Who was
Joe
that?
Lewis. Joe Lewis.
Joe Lewis. So the two of them, and yeah. So he was hoping to see where they live because Sonny Liston and Joe Lewis apparently were good friends later in life after they finished and what have you. So, and he said, yeah, he said somebody said about Joe Lewis, he found a way to make $1 disappear faster than Las Vegas. It was an interesting article to read. But yeah, he said he didn't have much he didn't have anything good to say about it, to be honest. So
Yeah.
which, who knows? And he goes on about the amount of money that these guys are making, the whole thing. So, they don't even seem to be taking it seriously. But that's just his opinion. So, but you were going to have a rant about something.
They've got to sort this waste management out the Phoenix Open.
It's shocking.
It's getting to the point now where it's just not right. It's wrong. That stadium hole, what is it, 16, is it?
Yeah. I
mean, they were fighting like a football crowd were fighting in the terrace, in the stands, in the hospitality units.
Yeah.
They were fighting. And I spoke to a mate of mine today who's an English lad who coaches out there, and he coaches a couple of players. And he's actually said to me this morning that he will not go to another waste management event because it's just full of people who are drunk.
Who are wasted. Who are
not there. They're not there to go, all right, he's a bit of a traditionalist and, he would be a bit of a stickler for certain things. He'd probably want you to wear long socks and stuff like that if you had your shorts on. But what he was saying is that it's now got to the stage that every day on that 16th green that his players in practice rounds, they were backing up in practice rounds because it takes 10 minutes to clear the green and the bunkers of all the cans of lager and the cans of beer and everything else that gets thrown, even in practice rounds. And what they're saying now is they're now throwing basically like full cans of lager out of the hospitality units onto the green, and it's denting the green. So when you get up there to putt, you're actually putting over the worst green. They reckon the 16th green at the Waste Management Phoenix Open is actually the worst putting surface on the whole of the US Tour.
I watched a nice bit of it because of the fact that Lowry and Seamus Power was playing it. But not that you saw much of him on television. I think we only saw Lowry. I saw Lowry twice in the whole weekend on television. Anyway, look.
But they're damaging the green. It's holding play up, and now it's even gone into fighting in the hospitality units and fighting outside the hospitality units.
Oh,
proper scrapping like football hooligans.
Well, that's a shame because the Golf Channel didn't make any reference.
They won't make it. I mean, if you go on Twitter and go on Facebook and different things like that, go on YouTube, you'll see it. You'll see the fighting. I mean, I spoke to my mate this morning, and he literally said they're actually full scrapping, fisticuffs going on behind the green and outside getting into the units. And look, I think, you've got the Masters coming up in a couple of months' time.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've just had the Phoenix Open, which is basically, to me, that hole reminds me of 1970s football matches.
Yeah, that's
and then
true.
You've got the Masters coming up, where if you are caught running to get into position to watch someone hit a shot, they take you out of the building. They take you out of the facility. You get thrown out. You're ejected.
Go with you.
If you run down the fairway to catch someone to see a shot, and the Pinkerton guards see you do it, they'll not arrest you, but they'll take you off and throw you out the door, as in there's your ticket gone.
Cheapers, and it's very, very expensive ticket.
They are expensive tickets, but the Masters is really cheap once you're in. Once you can get a ticket,
I heard that.
It's it's like $2 for a hot dog. It's $1.50 for a Pepsi or for a Coke or whatever.
Yeah.
So they're not trying to make money from the spectators that way. Now go into the tented village and buy some Masters clothing and stuff like that. That's expensive. They're not. The concession stands are really cheap, but.
Oh, good. And the Masters, of course, inevitably, we'll be talking about McIlroy again in the Masters. I mean, it's boring at this stage, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to see Rahm win it myself, or Garcia.
Sergio is playing a good bit of form.
Yeah, he's coming into a bit of form. It's whether he can keep it going all the way through to April. But
I don't mind who wins it once it's a live golfer.
I just think the Masters is a bit special, isn't it?
Do you think DeChambeau will be worth the bet?
No.
Don't
think he putts well enough to win round there.
Yeah.
I know he's won. Don't get me wrong, he's won US Open, hasn't he?
But John Ram is playing well.
Yeah, I mean you've got to pick someone who can putt. If you were looking at players to pick, you've got to find someone who's a good putter and a good chipper.
You have John Ram. You have McIlroy is always in the mix. John Ram, and you have Bruce Koepka.
If you said to me, have an outside bet, here's a name for you. Joe threw in Kansas Chiefs the other day, so here's the bet for you, boys. Victor Hovland.
Oh yeah, he didn't play the last couple of weeks.
No, but if you said an outside bet, someone who could come from nowhere and win that, Victor Hovland.
He has, as the man said, he has the game.
He does, yeah.
He has the game.
I'd like to see Shane Lowry.
Huh?
I'd like to see Shane Lowry win it.
Oh well, I mean,
that'd be some party, wouldn't it?
Oh, he'd be over and after for 2 weeks straight, and he owns his own pub and restaurant up there. Can you imagine the scene?
Does he have the game though to win the Masters?
I think he does. I think he chips. He's got such a great imagination for chipping and putting, and you need it round there because you'll have. There ain't a straight putt. There's not a straight putt on the golf course. I mean, there's putts there that are 30 feet of break.
Yeah, well, yeah, I've seen that before because when we had the US Open here, I mean, you look at the course itself, and the course is not threatening to pros. I remember being taken around there one day, and I said, "Don't you think the pros would overwhelm this course with the way they can hit the ball and what have you?" And the guy says, "Yeah." He said, "But he said, thing is, getting up and getting down is going to be the problem, and the greens are all undulating, like you're saying. I mean, there was no straight putts in this thing." And the grass that they had on the greens was something that the PGA guys weren't used to. So the combination of the grass and the different hole positions and breaks and on it made it very difficult for them. And they had to, in the finish, they had to redo the greens with different grass so that they could host some of the other PGA events. But that's interesting. I'd like to see Lowry win it. That would be.
That would be magic. magic.
Yeah.
Larry can putt. He's just a bit streaky. When he gets going,
Yeah.
he'll hold everything.
He will.
He's not someone who's gonna. He's not gonna. He'll throw a 3-putt at you, but he can hold a 60-footer from nowhere, and suddenly start holding everything he looks at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, with the Masters, there's from tee to green, it's pretty straightforward. It's not that difficult. It's where you hit it on the green is where the difficulties come in. Because I remember asking Nicholas last year about the Masters, and I've been lucky enough to play Augusta a lot, and he told me, just sitting having a coffee with him, where in his heyday he was trying to hit it into a 2-yard square area, and he used a clock analogy around the flag. So if the flag was, he was trying to hit it at 8 o'clock, but he had 2 yards to play with. If he went to 9 o'clock, he was buggered, and if he went to 7 o'clock, he was completely out the game. But at 8 o'clock, he had a more straightforward putt, if you could get one.
Yes, yeah.
And you start sitting there saying, right, now you're looking at a 2-yard landing spot from 200 yards out. Then that's a bit like, to me, that's like trying to hit treble 20s on a dartboard, isn't it?
But yeah.
Consistently, yeah.
And to do
I was
that,
going to say, you guys were talking about cricket earlier. There was a guy that I fell in love with cricket a little bit when I went to Leicester. Leicestershire had a pretty good team at the time. Ray Illingworth was the captain there. And Graham McKenzie was an Australian fast bowler that was bowling for them. And what was his name? John, that used to do the commentating on Sunday afternoon.
Brian Johnston.
Was it? But there was John, I think his last name began with an A prior to that. It'll come to me. But he was doing an interview with Graham McKenzie, and McKenzie bowled 6 out in 1 over. And he says to him, John Arlo, does that sound right?
Yeah, John Arlo, that's it.
Right. So, and John Arlo was saying, well, how did you manage to do that? And similar to what you're talking about there with Nicholas, Mackenzie said, well, there was a little bit, but there was a divot just about 3 feet from the crease.
Yeah.
And I managed to be able to hit that every time, and it threw the batter off. And now, again, can you, like Nicholas, can you imagine hitting for 8 o'clock around a pin and Mackenzie aiming for a divot? I mean, that's the difference in top class sports people in the world. People look at it and go, oh, well, this is easy. And you go, hang on a second. There is nothing easy about this. You know, it's a little bit like everyone looks at Doug Saunders when he missed that short putt in the Open. You know, what was it, a 2 or 3 footer for immortality? But all of a sudden, the pressure that comes to bear on that one putt, and you're everything that you've done your whole career, you're not able to pull it off. And then in these instances, it's about, you know, like finding a speck of dust in a big room, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
amazing.
It was so interesting because what he was trying to explain was that he literally had mapped out the greens in his head, but also on a notebook, that if the flag, because the flags always go in the same spots. It might not be the same spot on Thursday this year and to next year, but that Thursday spot might become Sunday spot, but it'll be those 4 days. They're always going to be in those 4 areas, right?
Yes.
And he literally had worked out that if he hit it 1 o'clock on the Friday afternoon to the 9th, for argument's sake, that 1 o'clock past not past it on 9, you'd never do that, but like let's say 4 o'clock, that putt there was just reasonably like 6 or 8 feet of break from right to left.
Yeah.
Whereas if he hits it at 9 o'clock, he's got a 15-foot break that the second half of the putt is all downhill.
Oh,
And he can't hold the ball. It's going to go. So either goes in the hole or goes way past.
of course.
I mean, the first time I played there, Joe, I hit it on the 9th green, and the caddy actually said to me, "Oh no, that's disaster." And I'm like, "Well, that looked really good to me." And he was like, "No, it's gone past the flag." And I knocked it off the green.
You'd have been.
I actually putted it off the green. Only because I couldn't actually hit the ball soft enough to not. It didn't matter what I did. I was always going to roll it off the green. It was like trying to putt down from the top of your bath down to the plug hole and leave it short.
Yeah.
You couldn't do it.
No, it's not. That's
a good one. Yeah. That's a good analogy.
I
mean, it was honestly, I will never forget it because I've walked up that hill, and that's a real hill going up 9. And I'm thinking, well, I've hit it right down the flagstick, and I was about 12 feet past the flag. And he's looked at me and gone, "No, you got no chance." And I was like, "What do you mean?" And you think to yourself, I kind of know what I'm doing. If you said to me I was going to knock it off the green, I would have laughed at you, right?
Yeah.
But I hit a half decent putt. It nearly went in, and it just turned at the last and missed the hole, and it went off the green. And but it didn't go off the green. It went 90 yards down the fairway.
Yeah.
But you stand there and just kind of shake your head. You're like, "Oh," and you sit there, and the way I looked at it was, imagine being a 24 handicapper.
Yeah.
You know, if you're a golf pro and you putt it off the green accidentally, that's one thing, isn't it?
It is.
Looking at it, and I know it's fast, and I know it's like, bloody hell, this is like greased lightning down here. How am I going to do this?
Yeah.
And I've done everything in my powers to not hit that ball. If the only way I could have hit that ball softer was to have missed it.
Right.
And it just rolled past the hole, and it was just rolling past. So I wasn't racing past.
Yeah.
And then it picks up a slope and just scooted off the. And that's the most embarrassing walk, when you got to walk back down a hill with a wedge in your hand.
Yeah.
Can I get my way?
Having putted it off the green. I mean,
if there was water there, I just hit it into water, and it's fine.
Well, you've seen that in recent years on 15, where they've chipped it over the back.
Yeah.
Although they've hit it too far on 15, and then they've putted it off into the lake in the front of the 15th green. Because that, again, what people don't know is that those greens are like upturned saucers.
Yeah.
And round the edges, they all fall off.
Yeah.
None of them is holding it. None of them's going to help you. They're all throwing the ball away. So on certain holes, even though, like, when the flag goes on, I think it's on the Friday, they put the flag on the front of the 9th green, and it goes front right. But anything just short will come back to your feet. And I'm talking like 120, 130 yards here. I'm not talking.
Yeah. 10 trees. Yeah. So
off the front edge.
My son and his buddies now will be,
because they mow those fairways. So if you do roll it off the green, it's rolling down green. There's nothing to stop the ball.
Yeah.
But we've kind of gone off the tack here a bit about waste management.
No, it doesn't matter. Oh, Joe, by the way, Vardy has scored a second for Leicester City, just to let you know, we're on here tonight. So, Vardy must be nearly 40 years of age, is he?
He's getting up there, yeah. He is getting up there.
Scored a second.
Ryan Giggs.
Yeah, they're using him pretty sparingly, though.
Yeah, they are.
They're nursing him along through the season. So
Copenhagen came back to draw with City, but City are gone ahead again. Silva. So they're 2-1 up away from home in the last 16 of the Champions League. They're the holders, they're favourites. There you go. Lads, it's been a blast again. And another good edition of SportsView with Derwynne, Honan, Joe Waters over there in Seattle, and Derwynne from London, and myself from Limerick City in the Emerald Isle. So we will see you all again next Monday. Hopefully everything going well for us. So from Derwynne, from Joe and myself, until we meet again, take care, guys, and good sporting for the week.
See you, boys.
Take care.